The Labor leader has not had a good day. Now, some of it's a bit embarrassing, but won't do him any lasting harm. But there's another aspect that most media will ignore, I guarantee you, and it points to something altogether a little more serious and worrying. Let's start with the embarrassment. We all make mistakes. We all use the wrong word at the wrong time sometimes. But the worst gaffe you can ever make is to stuff up the very point you're trying to mock someone else over. So let me set this one up. This is the Lodge, as you know. This is the Prime Minister's residence in Canberra. It's where Anthony Albanese wants to live after the election. But before he has any chance of doing that, there has to be an election, of course. And to do that, the Prime Minister needs to visit the Governor-General, usually here at Yarralumla in Canberra. So Albo is eager to get into the Lodge and he thought he'd urge Scott Morrison along.
I've got to say, I feel like putting in a phone call to the Prime Minister if he doesn't know where the Governor-General lives and offer him a lift to the Lodge to call this election.
Oh boy, Albo. I hope he stays in politics because he'd obviously be a failure as an Uber driver, taking someone home instead of off to their appointment. But there's been a more serious blemish from the opposition leader, and it relates to how he's tried to defend himself from this campaign misstep the other day.
You've got a tough question. Are you up for it?
I'm absolutely up for it.
Okay, good.
And sorry, we can't really do that. The protocol, the Media Alliance will be a bit upset if we...
I don't think the media will mind at all. I've said, are you up for it? Are you up for it?
I'm absolutely up for it.
Okay, so my question is,
we're just taking questions from journalists.
OK, so he should have taken that question. He got a bit of flack for not taking it. So Anthony Albanese came up with an excuse and he linked it to this Advance Australia campaign truck, which points out that the Chinese Communist Party would prefer a Labor win. So have a listen to how the alternative Prime Minister now excuses himself for not answering a voter's question.
It wasn't just some punter who rocked up to the press conference yesterday. There was a truck going around with a billboard sort of attached to it that's been busy trying to whip up racist sentiment, basically, and that fellow was associated with that.
Really? He chucks in the racism slur, an unjustified racism slur, to defend himself from answering an unknown question from an unknown voter? That's pretty odious, isn't it? Because there's nothing racist about the contentious political message on that truck. And besides, Perth Radio's 6PR's Gareth Parker tracked down the man who asked the question. He calls himself Norm and he says he had nothing to do with Advance Australia.
Are you part of that organisation, Norm?
No, mate, I've got nothing to do. Don't know the people, didn't even know the name of the organisation until you said it just then. Didn't know anything about the truck or the truck driver.
Well, there you are. You heard it. If indeed this man has no connection to the truck campaign, he's been unfairly maligned by Anthony Albanese, who was just trying to defend his own weakness in not taking a question. But even if Norm is having a lend of us and is linked to Advance Australia, there's still this effort to claim a racist slur, a racist element to that advertising hoarding. The debate about China is a crucial part of any national security debate and therefore is bound to come up during the election campaign. Albanese is going to have to do better than scream racism whenever it's raised. Now, by the way, Norm in that radio interview wouldn't tell Gareth Parker what question he wanted to ask Anthony Albanese. So why don't we remind Labor of two key questions I'd like to put to the opposition leader. I'd like to ask Anthony Albanese why he now opposes new taxes that he's previously backed, like death duties, like the mining tax, like the carbon tax and like the negative gearing tax. And I'd also like to hear him explain how his climate policies would produce any discernible change in the weather. What will they do to our weather and climate? We'll keep asking. We'd love to have a chat.